Well, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I have an interesting little story to share with you guys. Technically you can call this, I guess, a trail blog, but it's not taking place on the field. But here's just a quick point to get across just before I start this. The most interesting of things, and some of the things that you'd like to document the most, always come about and always happen when you don't got your camera going. I have two pocket cams. I had one of them on me at the time, but it just takes regular it's a fairly older camera. It's not that great. It just takes two AA batteries. But I did not have batteries for it at the time. I had my other pocket cam at home, and because I was going to charge it, and I need to grab a new charger for my Mark III. So, yeah. So basically, all the interesting stuff happens when your camera is not on you. And again, I bring the other one. I had the other one on me all the time, but as somebody who's walking around with the camera all the time. There's not like one particular place that I mean, sometimes there is, but there's not generally one particular place that you feel you have to bring your camera. And because when you're walking around throughout the whole day, it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in town, on the back roads, in the bush, whatever, something interesting can always happen at any time. So I had planned to get some more batteries for it, but I just had it in my bag. So coincidentally, as much as that sounds weird, I wanted to clear that up, but I did not have any cameras at the time, and yet this really interesting occurrence happened, and I have a piece of it to present with you here. So I was hiking through the forest like usual. Again, just nothing special, not any mission this time or anything, just a casual hike, like I say a lot, just walking through the forest, just looking at the scenery, going to some viewpoints, whatever. And so I was off trail. I was I was just in the bush, just in the not on the hiking trails, just in the straight up forest. And but I started following this animal trail. It was sort of like like if you're through in the woods, sometimes you'll come across these little pathways that are like like deers frequently travel that way, or bears frequently travel there, something like that. So it's there's a sort of a distortion in the ground, and the plants are kind of kicked over to the side and pressed down, causing it to just almost like a little stream way to follow. It's an animal trail. People that go in the bush know about animal trails all the time. But so following that for quite a while, I followed it for probably like a couple of kilometers or whatever. But then coming upon sort of a circled out area of trees. Again, like now that I found this, it makes me wonder, like, if there was something to do with that circle or something. But it didn't seem like anything mysterious or any sort of spiritual like circle or area or anything. It just seemed like the bushes were opening up a bit more there. But I noticed, I was like, what the hell? I looked down. I noticed there's a fire pit, and I will say this is an odd place for people, like, say, just campers or something, to set up camp. Like, if you were to see the terrain around, it's not an ideal for people just to be camping there. Or it's even in the summertime, it's not like there's beach fires and stuff like that go on all over here, but it's just not an area. And people go up the mountain and do it, but it's just not an area that you would imagine. It was a very strange area for somebody to set up that. And so I thought that was kind of strange, but again, I just kind of walked past it like, huh. And then as I looked at it closer, I realized that I have an object in my hand right now, I'm going to show it to you, was propped up on the largest rock of the fire, like set up on display, almost kind of ceremoniously, like ceremonial looking, almost in a lot of ways. And it's kind of spooky and it's interesting, but it's this figure here. It's like I don't even know the material it's made out of. It's almost like pottery kind of material or something like that. But it's like a sculpture of a woman, like on sort of like a stand, like you can stand it up on something like that. And this was standing just like this. at the base of the fire, on the largest rock, set up, like I said, like it was deliberately set up, like somebody for some reason left this there for, I don't know if it's some sort of spiritual thing. I don't know if it's just a complete joke, like, some renegades were out there having a hillbilly fire, and one of them had this on them for some reason. They were like, haha, let's put this here. Or if it was something to do with, like, I don't know, like, there's lots of spiritual people around here. I know there's lots of hippies around here. It's a hippie town. There's some groups of people that follow, like, historical Native American spiritual practices and stuff like that. But this definitely doesn't look anything representing to Native American. But there are people that, study, like, Celtic and Norse mythology, and they are into all that kind of stuff and into that kind of religion, and they go out into the bush and with their staffs and crystals and do all that kind of stuff. Like, there is, the culture is here. There are people that do that kind of stuff. But it's like, I don't know, it could have just been, maybe it was somebody sort of like me too, a treasure hunter, explorer, adventurous person that, again, had this on them for some reason or another, and maybe it wasn't even their fire. Maybe they found it and thought it was kind of strange like me, or maybe they had a really long day out there and were going a lot farther than I was, so on their way back they decided just to prop up there for a few hours or a night or something, and this was just sort of a little Easter egg left behind. It could have been, as I said before, hillbillies having a renegade fire in a strange spot in the forest, like, woohoo, rock on style. And again, one of them had this and was like, fuck it, let's leave this here, see if it's ever found. It could mean something a lot deeper. And another interesting thing is, you will never see it on this webcam I have here, but her mouth, she's got vampire teeth. This is a vampire. Okay, seriously, she's got vampire fangs coming out of the side of her mouth. So there's definitely something about this, and I'm glad I found it. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's kind of creepy, but it's kind of cool, right? Like, you can prop it up, and I'm a treasure hunter. Like, this is most definitely a treasure. This is absolutely a treasure, and it's, useful to some degree. Who knows? It could be worth something, or it could be sought after in some way, or somebody even locally around here might be looking for it or something. Who knows? So there could be some sort of other adventure or reward involved in that. And if not, whatever, it's a treasure found, and it can go on display. You could prop this up on a shelf easily, and even if anybody asks, like, what do you got that for, or whatever, I'll say, well, it's a treasure. I found it way out in the middle of the forest, set up, like I said, ceremoniously looking anyway. I mean, it could not have been. It could have just, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the story is on this thing, right? But it looked like there was some sort of intention behind it was set up kind of to feng shui, right? Like, it was the flattest rock that it was placed on. It was the biggest rock of the fire that it was placed on, and also it was sort of elevated higher up. Like, it looked like it was sort of representing, like, like looking up to the sky, looking up to the top of the trees, like looking out over the forest kind of a thing, right? Like, it's some sort of watcher or something. And, yeah, so that is that, guys. So here, rather than me just yapping about it, here's kind of, I don't know how good this webcam will show it, but here's just, like, take a minute to actually look over what this is. Like, does anybody out there know what this is? Know where this comes from? Know of any company or anything that manufactures this? Or more importantly, know of any religions or spiritual movements or symbolism in just everyday lore that somebody might put something like this up against a fireplace or against a fire pit in the forest? Or put it on display of some kind with some sort of meaning to it. Like, if there's anybody that knows anything about that or recognizes this in any way, shape, or form, please hop down to the comments, or anybody that has any sort of idea. But yeah, so this is what it is. This was today's treasure, guys. I'm very excited. It is a big treasure. Yes, whether it's special or worth anything or not, it was a huge treasure that it takes up my whole hand, and it's easily anybody that sees it can recognize what it is, not the meaning behind it, but can recognize that it is a display item. And it was found, like I said, this was kind of the creepy thing about it. Like when I first found this, I sort of like, stood back a bit and looked around at the trees and studied this circle I was in a little bit for a second, and I was kind of like, yeah, okay, maybe I'll come back here another time, but maybe I'm gonna cut this trip off at this point here now, and then maybe another time I'll come around, and if there's any sort of anything that looks like anything was noticed that this is gone, then that would creep me out especially. But my curiosity will bring me back there. You know that. But still, for that particular moment, I got kind of creeped out. Like I said, I got kind of guarded and looked around at the trees and like, is freaking arrows gonna come out at me here or something, right? So that was today's adventure, guys. I'm dreadfully sorry I could not do the vlog on it, and I could not show you guys this happening right on the spot, because in general it was a nice, cool hike, and finding something like this, especially under the circumstances of where it was very interesting. And what I was going to say before I got wrapped onto this is that this was not, like, there was a hiking trail nearby, like in the general vicinity, and, it's local, like it's the Sunshine Coast, right? But this was not near a lot of people, like, where people would just be going on for just a normal walk, per se, like, unless you were like passionate about being out there. Like, this was quite far. This was, a couple kilometers in and off the trail, and with the terrain and the stuff that you would have to cross through and, kind of move around and climb over, and the trees and the vast forest and all of that. Yeah, it's not somewhere that people for no apparent reason would just be. And it's not where it's like completely easy access to human interaction. So that's what's kind of mysterious about this, guys. But that is today's treasure. Thank you very much for watching.